We must have a heart large enough to forgive, even if they have killed our brothers and our sisters. I want to say that the deliberations at this event very clearly demonstrated something the general from Pakistan, General Abdul Wadud, mentioned. He said that they were very open, very frank, and very free. I believe the Sri Lanka Army should have had this conference much earlier. Perhaps there were other reasons it did not. And I think that 2 years after war, today, those officers that presented, they spoke very openly. I think it would have been much difficult to speak of the strategies, the tactics, the methods. And of course, the commander has taken the unprecedented step of making all those presentations public. So they are on the web. And I think today Sri Lanka is ready to share openly with members of the international community who are here, the members of the international community who could not come, and with the larger public, share the key elements of that victory. And I believe with this conference, there will begin a process of engaging those individuals and institutions that may have not quite understood the Sri Lankan campaign. Let me also say that the Sri Lankan Army has made a very key decision. That is, it has now decided to impart a number of training courses for friendly militaries. The commander shared with me that there will be 4 courses. One is the winning concept, the SIOT, the Special Infantry Operations Trained. The military will conduct a course which will last 8 months on SIOT techniques, tactics, and procedures. And that will be open to those partner nations. And Sri Lankan military will also share a 2-month leadership course for junior officers in jungle warfare. And there will be 2 other courses that will be shared. That is the Sri Lankan Elite Forces, the Special Operations Forces. Both the Special Forces and the Commandos will open their training facilities, and any country that wish to learn and share their experience would be welcome to Sri Lanka. Let me make 2 other points in concluding this address. One is that Sri Lanka had tremendous success, but Sri Lanka also failed. And it is important for the international community to learn from that failure. You can win a battle on the ground, but you also need to win that battle in the information space. And that is Sri Lanka's failure. Yesterday, Dr. Munasinghe, the general who was in charge of the medical services, spoke. He made a brilliant address. His own brother was killed. But he had a large heart. He personally supervised what was happening in the Vani theatre. And when I questioned him, he said something very interesting. He said that he provided the same degree of medical care to his own soldiers, and he gave the same degree of medical care to the IDPs. But what I could not examine was, I didn't ask him, did you give the same degree of medical care to the LTT members? And when I asked him privately, he said, yes. And he told me he also has photographs. So I think that the Sri Lankan military needs to create an information service, an army information service. This is an obligation on the part of the Sri Lankan military. It is because what you have done may have been misunderstood, may have been misinterpreted in some quarters. And I believe that the creation of such an information service will enable Sri Lanka to very effectively counter that propaganda. As we all know, LTT has been dismantled in Sri Lanka, but there are continuations of those LTT structures that were overseas that continue in its journey of trying to target Sri Lanka. So with the LTT activities moving from Sri Lanka to the international arena, this is a responsibility, not only of the Sri Lankan Foreign Service, that in my view did not do a good job. I believe that it is a challenge that must be shared by the Foreign Service in partnership with the Information Ministry, with the Defense Ministry, with the services. So this is a key lesson for the military. In parallel with your war fighters, you must also have your information warriors. This is a challenge faced by many countries, many governments. What you do will be misinterpreted, misrepresented. Let me also say that the Sri Lankan military today spends a very significant proportion of its budget in nation building. So the Sri Lankan soldier that fought the terrorist, that fought the insurgent, today is playing a different role. He was trained for a different mission. But Sri Lankan government was able in a very short time to transform that soldier from a war fighter to a guardian of peace, builder of the nation. How did the military do that? So I asked the Secretary of Defense. On Saturday I attended Rana Viru Real Star. And when I asked him, he said that he created a number of events